Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Nick Marro, DFS here with DFS Jayhawk for Occupy Fantasy. As always, we're here to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. We got a nice 5-game slate tonight, locking in 7 Eastern Standard Time. All the games, I think, have pretty close spreads, which is good to see. So we should be seeing some competitive basketball, some really high totals, especially in Milwaukee, pushing 250 points. Pretty ridiculous. Not a ton of value yet, at least that's what it seems like, but yeah. What's your overall take on the slate so far, Jayhawk? I'm trying to find value I feel comfortable with.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. Value's very slim on the slate. Definitely some teams we can look towards. Obviously, we have some pretty integral news with Zion out, as well as some other pieces of news that could break later. That we get some low on value plays. So definitely a lot of ways we can still go. But yeah, I agree. Compared to our normal slate, definitely slimmer value plays.
Yeah, and let's start off by talking through the injury report quickly. So for those of you who aren't members of Occupy Fantasy, we're going to be using the model throughout the video you see here. We have our proprietary OF index, which is rating plays by their upside. You could also sort by ownership, value for each site. Just a really, really valuable tool in building lineups. We also have a single lineup builder and multi-lineup builder. We're not going to use on the show, but just excellent tools in addition to the Discord. After this show, I think you're double duty today, right, man?
I
You'll be
am.
there answering questions 6:30 to lock while I'm building my lineups and processing this news. But we're always in there with updates, and the model is constantly adjusting as we lead into lock, even after lock as news breaks. So very, very vital you get the tool if you don't have it. But for those joining right now, please like the video. Also subscribe to the channel. That helps us get this in front of more eyes. But let's talk through these injuries real quick. So we do have a 6 o'clock game that's not on the slate. We don't need to talk about the Hornets or the Knicks. First game at 7 o'clock. I just want to take a look at the spreads here. Yeah, we got the Pelicans are 7.5-point underdogs at home hosting Minnesota. Minnesota's been playing pretty well. No major injury news. No Jordan McLaughlin for the Timberwolves. He's been out. That does secure minutes for Mike Conley a bit, but nothing we really need to talk about there. New Orleans, though, as you let off with no Zion tonight, no CJ McCollum. They almost got Jose Alvarado back. He's still out as well. No Trey Murphy, who's a regular piece of the rotation, and Larry Nance is going to be out for a while. So thin rotations in New Orleans. I know we're both high on Dyson Daniels here. No surprise, especially with Jose Alvarado out. But yeah, I guess I'm seeing one projected lineup right here where they think Robinson Earl might get the start at power forward tonight, which wouldn't shock me against the big Timberwolves. But I guess what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, if Robinson Earl starts, then I will be playing a ton of Karl Anthony Towns tonight because that is
Yeah.
a complete mismatch.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, and I'm just wondering, like, I'm really desperate for value if I end up getting to some Robinson Earl. He does have power forward eligibility on both sites, which makes him a little bit more appealing. But yeah, never a player I'm excited to get to. He was cut from the Thunder for a reason. But yeah, I guess we're going to have to look here. Obviously, we like Jones, Ingram. Joe Val's minutes tend to fluctuate, but in this matchup, I think he's probably going to have a more secure floor. Facing off, like you said, against Towns and Gobert, one of the tougher matchups for bigs. But yeah, we'll go through the injuries first, then we'll go position by position. I don't want to talk too deeply into the plays yet. But then we have the Dallas Mavericks, no Maxi Kleber, so nothing really major there right now. No Greg Brown either, no surprise. So they're healthy. Luka and Kyrie are both in. Moving right along. On the Bucks side of things, no Middleton, which is certainly notable. Not the biggest, I don't know, effect from that cause, though, because he has only been playing 20 minutes per night. But we're also getting no Jay Crowder, no Marjon Beauchamp, so they are thin on the wing, which could open up minutes and usage for someone like Pat Connaughton, maybe. Bobby Portis' price is up, but I'm sure we'll be talking about him in a little bit as well. Anything super notable from the Bucks that you're looking at, other than the obvious, I guess? We got Giannis and Dame in there, but...
Yeah, I really like that Connaughton call. Obviously, with no Beauchamp and no, who am I
Crowder.
missing? Crowder. No Crowder. Yeah, they're very, very depleted on the wing. So I like that call with Connaughton. And then obviously, yeah, Giannis and Dame. I'm going to prefer Giannis, but I think they're both solid as tournament plays.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's interesting. That game has four studs. I mean, you got Luka and Kyrie on the other end, and a near 250-point total. So you kind of have to pick your studs there, but that's definitely a game we'll be talking about in a moment. Just keep going through the injuries here. We got the Heat and the Bulls, I believe. This is out of a different order than what I'm looking at. So we'll go Spurs, Grizzlies first, I guess. So the Spurs have the sellout, which is obviously massive. That's going to create extra usage for guys like Keldon Johnson, Wemby even, Jeremy Sochan. We've seen Julian Champagne, who I was very down on in his first start, completely forced me to eat my words. He's actually been really productive. Was amazing for his first stint last night, then kind of fell off a cliff. But if he starts again, is he somebody you'll be interested in?
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
Who were you saying again?
Julian Champagne.
Oh yeah, I was reading through the chat. Sorry. Yeah, Champagne. He's solid. I liked him more when he's 3K flat. Obviously, 3K starting, we're gonna want that. But he's still fine at 4,100. I think I still may prefer Branham for the ownership discount, but I still think he's fine.
Yeah,
At
no,
that price and ownership.
Yeah, and I thought Trey Jones was going to be out, but it is notable he's not on the injury report. So if he's in, that is going to cut into the minutes of someone like Jeremy Sochan. So something to keep an eye on there. I think he was on the earlier injury report, and now he's gone. So that is certainly notable. Then with Miami, no Tyler Hero. That's a big one. Kevin Love and Josh Richardson are available off the bench, as is Drew Smith. But with Hero out, I think we could look to Bam and Jimmy again. Jimmy Butler's price hasn't come up. A little bit more inconsistent than some of the other pay-up options we have on this slate, but I do like the matchup for him against Chicago, albeit it is the game with, I think, the lowest total on the board. But moving right along, I don't want to spend too much time on injuries. Yeah, Curry's questionable for Golden State. That one's obviously massive. If Curry is out, I think we have to go back to Chris Paul. Klay Thompson's been terrible. Podziemski's been a fun play, but I don't know that he's going to get consistent minutes if Curry's back in the lineup. So that's a situation we have to keep an eye on. We also have Draymond still suspended. If Kuminga starts again, he's going to be appealing. We've seen some good games out of Dario Saric, who I think should start at center here against a pretty small front court for the Thunder with Chet Holmgren in its center for OKC. So going to have to keep an eye on that Curry news. It is, I believe, the last game on the slate, which is unfortunate. So if you're planning to play Curry, I don't know. It's tough. You almost have to make sure you have room for a 2 for 2. You can maybe get to SGA if you swap off a second player or something like that. Taking a look at the chat now. Hello and welcome, everyone. I got a few monitors up, so my head's all over the place. Still getting used to producing. But yeah, first question here from Jose, who's here every day, man. Definitely appreciate the loyalty. So why aren't players popping from the Dallas-Milwaukee game? I think up top you're going to see them, but that's the reason you're not seeing more. It's because all that usage is going to guys like Giannis, Luka, Kyrie, and Dame. And if they're going to be absorbing all that usage, it's tough for some of the other guys in the mid-range to get there. I will say, with Middleton out, I do think we start to see some of these Milwaukee guys pop. And if you do sort by DK value, what do you know? We got Malik Beasley up there, Pat Connaughton. So I don't know if you have the model, Jose, but our model is certainly favoring some of these Milwaukee pieces. Again, that came as a massive total. Brook Lopez has been excellent over the past couple games. Not someone you could always rely on for a floor, but I do like his ceiling at 5,900 on both sites. Any other questions we're looking at right now? Sup, gentlemen, from Carmen. Hey, Carmen. Israel says he wants to keep us to himself. We don't need more eyes on this right now. Jerry, I don't think we're doing Prize Picks content right now. I know if you follow Eric, who's a regular on here, 925, he's always posting about Prize Picks, but we're going to keep this mostly focused on DFS. So let's start with the guards, man. We talked about Luka, Dame, Kyrie, all in the same game. But it's kind of tough because we've seen Luka still have ceiling games with Kyrie in the lineup, but at the same time, they come fewer and further between. But yeah, I guess what's your take on the guards in this game? It does seem like Dame's maybe finally turning a corner with Milwaukee, though, getting comfortable with that offense.
Yeah, so I think, honestly, these guards should be pretty contrarian in tournaments. Dame, Luka, Kyrie, and I think they're all of ceilings, obviously. I'd prefer Dame out of the bunch, point per dollar with no Middleton. But I think they're all ceilings, all look pretty solid in tournaments. I think everyone's going to flock to the Baines and everyone in the Minnesota game. So I think these guys should be loaned, and I definitely like have intrigue for Oldham.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm with you. And I mean, you look at the ownership. We can sort by ownership for DK here at the guards. Like you said, Bain the most popular. Gilliard also drawing a lot of ownership as a value guard for Memphis. Obviously, still no John Morant. Marcus Smart's going to be out, I think, 3 to 5 weeks, they said. One thing to keep an eye on, we talked about before we went live, Derrick Rose could be back tonight. If he is, we have him in the model right now. He would be a decent piece of value, but it's rare he gets over 20 minutes. We only have him projected for 15, so I think if he's in, you could still get to Gilliard. But if Gilliard's still super chalky, that could cut into his upside a bit. So that would be something to keep an eye on. But yeah, in the mid-range, we have guys like Mike Conley. Never really much of a ceiling out of him, but he does have a pretty solid floor. I know we're both heavy on Dyson Daniels here. I am surprised that he's not more popular. We're only seeing 14% on DK, 14% on DK, 11% on FanDuel right now. And a decent matchup with Minnesota. Obviously, the front court, it gets busy there with Towns and Gobert, but guards have done fairly well against that team. So, yeah, I know you're with me on Daniels, but I'll just let you ring the bell as well.
Yeah, so Dyson Daniels, I was on him yesterday, so were you. And, without Alvarado on the court, he gets 30-plus minutes every night. Obviously, no CJ. And he gets another great matchup tonight. So I really like him once again. He's my favorite overall point guard play on the slate. I know Mike Conley's picking up ownership, but Daniels is my favorite out of the bunch. So I love him tonight.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think Daniels has a much higher ceiling than Conley, even if Conley's maybe a little bit safer, and I think he has a higher floor than Gilliard. So, of those three, the guy we like best is the lowest owned. So, yeah, everyone watching, we both really like Dyson Daniels. Probably a good place to start your lineups tonight. If we talk about some of the more expensive guys here, we have Anthony Edwards in that Minnesota-New Orleans game. Obviously, a little bit inconsistent, but I do like the price on both sides. I think you could get 50-plus out of him. Not consistently, but in tournaments, I think he makes sense, especially where he's sub 20% on DK, sub 10% on FanDuel, where he's a little bit more expensive, but you do have shooting guard and small forward eligibility on him. One guy I'd love to take your pulse on is Malik Beasley. With Middleton out and these other wings out for Milwaukee, I know he's generally inconsistent, but he's coming off 2 really solid games. I think one of those was without Dame, but it does seem like he's starting to flash his ceiling a little bit, maybe getting more comfortable with his new team, as we're seeing with a lot of these guys across the league. But what's your take on Beasley here? Not as popular as I expected he'd be coming into the slate.
Yeah, once again, top on the model for DK and FanDuel value. This is the guy we were playing with Dame out, and shockingly, he's doing better with Dame in. I don't really know why that is, but yeah, I think he's solid. The only one downside is he's only shooting guard eligible, so that's like a one roster construction, con. But I think he looks solid here. Definitely going to be contrarian. I think everyone's going to play Connaughton, so I like him in tournaments.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot as a pivot if Connaughton's going to be popular. And we could use this to transition into a question here. For Put Me in the Game, Coach Chris, we have who's your favorite shooting guard tonight? So I'm going to pull out the point guards here. I'll put shooting guards up for FanDuel as well. I know a lot of these guards have dual eligibility. But yeah, if we're sorting by OF index, we actually have Kyrie at the top, which is a little bit surprising. But again, that matchup has a near 250-point total. Bain, Edwards, Giddey finally seems to be shooting the ball better. Zach LaVine firmly on the trade block. But who's your favorite, I guess, shooting guard point per dollar?
My favorite's going to be Desmond Bain. I just think without Marcus Smart, this guy's going to be doing everything from scoring, assisting, rebounding. I think, Smart did a lot of that assisting and ball handling, and I think Bain really takes over and establishes himself tonight. So I think Bain's probably mine.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Bain makes a lot of sense. I think in tournaments you could pivot to Edwards, get similar upside at lower ownership. He's even cheaper than Bain on DK, which was surprising to me. More expensive on FanDuel, but 400 is pretty easy to find. I did just check to see if Daniels had shooting guard eligibility. I don't think he does. And there was a time when Butler did, but that no longer exists for him either. So yeah, I'm with you on Bain. I do like him a lot. But yeah, are there any other guards that we didn't touch on that you think are worth bringing up?
Yeah, let's briefly touch on Pods, because I think that could be a really intriguing pivot to Gilliard if Rose is in and Curry's out. So you need a couple things to go your way. But I think Pods, if Curry's out again, same price point as Gilliard, and if Rose is in, I think Pods would be an elite pivot to Gilliard at that price point. They're the same price point. So
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's tough with him because I mean, he did well the other night, but he got extended blowout run.
Yeah.
And yeah, we also saw Gary Payton go down to injury. I think he's going to be out again as well, which should secure minutes for pods. But yeah, I think everyone wanted Clay to be a thing with Curry out the other night, and unfortunately, yeah, he just doesn't seem like himself right now. I think on FanDuel you can still get to him a little bit, but 7K for Klay Thompson on DK seems almost impossible tonight, regardless of whether Curry's in or out of the lineup. So yeah, I mean, just looking through, I'll click through ownership one last time here. The Memphis guys, Gilliard, Bain, no surprise there. Conley, Edwards, Beasley, we talked about. Duncan Robinson's been really solid lately. I don't love the price on him. DK did finally fix his position. He's no longer a power forward there, which is good to see. But yeah, I mean, with Hero out, he has been seeing a lot of usage. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but the price on him just feels too high. I know he's capable of a ceiling, but yeah, I'm not excited to get to Duncan Robinson.
I'm right with you.
Yeah, and then SGA, pretty low owns. I think if you could get up to him, he probably feels a little safer than Luka here, which is a weird thing to say. But with Kyrie in the lineup, we've seen some floor games out of Luka lately, and if you only get 40 points out of a guy you're paying 12K for, that's certainly going to kill your night. So don't mind some SGA. I'm not going to say don't play Luka if you could fit him. Obviously, his ceiling's as high as anyone's on this slate. But let's move into small forwards. King Dash, I do see your question. We'll talk about that when we get to centers. Israel is asking if Smart's in. I think Smart was announced today, Sham said, for 3 to 5 games or 5 weeks. I don't know, but I'm pretty confident he's out tonight. So what we're keeping an eye on. Yeah. The thing we got to keep an eye on there is just if Rose is back, because Rose would be viable, and that would cut into Gilliard a little bit, but I still think we could play Gilliard. So let's transition into forwards now. All right, sorting by ownership on DK, we got Marshall up top. Good point per dollar play with no Zion. We got Bain, Karl Anthony Towns, power forward eligible on both sides of play. I think we both like. Brandon Ingram continues to look solid here with no CJ McCollum and now no Zion in the lineup. Julian Champagny, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he burnt me his first night starting. I did play some last night, had a really good first stint, then kind of fell off the face of the earth. Then we got Kyle Anderson, Giannis. I like Keldon Johnson with the sellout. But yeah, I know I just listed like 10 guys, but are there any forwards really standing out to you, either just in general or at their respective price, ownership, etc.?
Yeah, so obviously Najee's picking up a ton of ownership, but I think it's well warranted. Obviously, with no Zion and with Najee healthy, he should really boost here. Should pick up the start, play around, I believe, 25 minutes. Or I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Yeah, let me see what we have him for.
Yeah.
Take a look. Yeah, 25.2, so
yeah. So he looks really solid at that price point. Probably my favorite cheap forward play, along with obviously Champagne, like you mentioned. And Connaughton as well. So yeah, really like Najee there.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm with you. I do like Najee. I want to bring up Kuminga. If Curry's out again, I like Kuminga with no Draymond there. If Curry's in, I don't know that I get to him. It would cut into his usage a little bit. OKC is a smaller team, which should mean he should be able to see plenty of run here. But yeah, with Curry on the floor, obviously Curry's going to dominate a lot of that usage. Sorting by value, we have Connaughton up top. Jaden McDaniels is a name I didn't really plan to be on here, but he has been getting the starts for Minnesota. Coming off a pretty solid game, only 22 minutes, but he had 23 fantasy points. Excuse me. To me, he's a guy, kind of boom bust. Don't mind him as a tournament play if he's going to stay low owned. But where are you at on McDaniels? And I don't know, I guess is Kyle Anderson like someone you'd rather play at higher ownership off the bench? Because I don't know, it's tricky there.
Yeah, man, I'm really trying to avoid these Minnesota forwards. I think they're both fine, but you're kind of playing roulette with the two. I think either of them could have a good game. I'm not denying that they couldn't. I just prefer other forwards on this slate. So that's just kind of my take. But
yeah. No, I think that's totally fair. It's boom bust. So if you're playing a bunch of lineups, it makes sense to take those risks. But if you're playing a few single entry, probably less so. On the other side of that same game, though, we do have Brandon Ingram, who I think is one of the safer forward plays on the slate. And then Herbert Jones, who is somewhat scoring reliant, but we have seen some pretty good games out of him lately. The model likes him enough at 6K. I think that price is giving me a little bit of sticker shock. But here's a guy who's played 30 plus minutes in each of his past, I think, 6 games where he's appeared, and obviously going to see some extra usage with no Zion on the floor. And if that front court is clogged up, they're going to have trouble getting the ball into Ingram, Joval. Maybe Herbert Jones is going to have to get hot to keep this one competitive. So yeah, I like Jones. Here's a good question. Where are you at on Giannis tonight? So his price has come down on FanDuel. He's only 10-8 there. Obviously, with Dame in the lineup, that's going to cut into his usage, as we've seen early this season. But this game has a 247.5 point total. So sorting OF index, no surprise he's going to be at the top. But I guess, what's your take on Giannis? Do you think he's properly owned at 20% on DK, 30 on FanDuel, over, under? Where you're at with Giannis today?
Yeah, so I think Giannis is probably properly owned. It's not necessarily a terrific matchup against Dallas here. I think it's fine, but we have so many good mid-tier plays with Bi with no Zion, Bane with no Smart.
Yeah.
I think he can still get to a 60-point ceiling. But he probably needs like 65 to 70 to really hurt you in tournaments. And with Dame fully healthy, it's tougher for me to get there. I'll get to a little bit, but I obviously prefer the other guys I just mentioned in the mid tier.
No, I'm with you. And yeah, I do want to bring up Jimmy Butler again. I do like him a lot here. I think he's solid. DeRozan is back for the Bulls. He's in play, but scoring dependent for someone in that price range. But yeah, Bobby Portis, I don't mind with Middleton out, but they did really up his price on both sides. We haven't seen the ceiling out of him. So, I don't know. A lot to like it forward. Jaren Jackson's been a big disappointment lately, but I do think in tournaments he makes some sense off a pivot off Chalky Bane. But you think you get to any Jackson tonight, floating around 8K?
Yeah, so I played him a couple nights ago. He was like 0.5% on against the Lakers. He was awful. I think he put up like 20 fantasy points that got blown out. It's tougher. I mean, he's still fine, but he's around the price points of Cat Towns and some other guys.
Okay.
I think floor is a little bit safer. I'm not saying Triple J doesn't have a ceiling. He definitely does. But, I'm going to prefer other safer floor guys in this range.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I don't know that I play any Jackson tonight. Maybe that's an error on my end, but there's just better guys in that range. I'd even rather pay up a little bit for Wemby. Again, inconsistent, but we have seen the ceiling more often out of him over these past few games. But yeah, it's a good matchup for the two of them. We talked about Towns. We could use Towns kind of to transition into center. I think Towns and Zach Collins on FanDuel have power forward eligibility. I'm going to click over to the questions here. We had a question from King Dash. Going to pull this up on the board if it lets me. Nope, that's not it. Not favorite shooting guard. We got that one. Top 2 centers in FanDuel for cash. So if you have the model, a good way to do this, you click center as the position for FanDuel, see who the highest owned is, and then make sure that they score at least relatively well in terms of value and OF index. Zach Collins is the chalk tonight on FanDuel, 47%. I think a big part of that, though, is the power forward eligibility. Same with Karl Anthony Towns. I personally am kind of shocked that Bam isn't more popular here. Let me take a look.
I agree.
Yeah, so only 6% for Bam. I know he's 9,700, but it's not like we're paying up for Luka in most of our builds. So if you're not paying up for Luka, you're not paying up for Giannis. I really, really like Bam on both sides. He's been excellent with Hero out of the lineup, and we have seen Vooch, not the best defensive center ever, really, generally speaking. So I don't know. I do like Bam a lot. I'm a bit surprised by the ownership. I mean, logic would tell you don't play a guy so low owned in cash games, but I think if you could get to him on FanDuel, I do really like Bam. But yeah, Zach Collins is kind of a no-brainer. He's looked excellent here. Against Memphis, I do expect them to be heavily involved in what should be a competitive game. Jaren Jackson, we just talked about it forwards as chalk. That's one piece I'd be more comfortable getting away from. But yeah, I guess where are you at center? Like, who's standing out to you as things stand?
Yeah, so there's a couple of guys. One of them is really well owned, actually. So obviously, I'm not going to go over Cat Towns again. I love him tonight. And then, Bam in tournaments, 9,200 DraftKings, 97 on FanDuel. It's a pretty solid match against Chicago. So I like getting to him as a contrarian spend up.
Oh, yeah.
And then moving to the mid-tier, I really like Biyombo and Lopez. Biyombo, 5,900, still no Xavier Tillman, and gets a really nice matchup against San Antonio tonight. So I'm going to probably have a decent chunk of him. And then I think Brooke, without Chris Middleton, should get more shots. So I think Brooke Lopez also is worth a look in tournaments. as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Lopez is coming off two massive games, and I do like the Biombo call as well. I thought Tillman would be back. He's not. So if you're looking for value at center, I think Biombo probably has a higher floor than Lopez, but Lopez probably has a higher ceiling. But relatively speaking, I think they're both excellent plays for their price. I do feel more comfortable with them than either of the Golden State centers, neither who are drawing much ownership, so maybe that's kind of a non-point. But yeah, Rudy Gobert I think looks okay on DK at 6,800. Probably better in lineups without Towns, but again, that game should be pretty competitive. I do think they both match up fairly well there against New Orleans, so I'm fine getting to either of them. Probably wouldn't want them in the same lineup. Would you play them in the same lineup? I guess it doesn't matter, but this is Gobert and Towns.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they do share the floor more than one would think, but yeah, it just feels weird going for both of them. Like if one's having a massive game, rebounding is probably a big part of that, and they can't split rebounds. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to prefer Cat. I just don't like playing both. Yeah, obviously we want the upside from one, and Gobert's priced up now to 7K. Where, if Gobert was like sub 6K, I could say maybe you could play both. He's priced up now enough where I think it's tougher for both to get there.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. Let's see who else we have here. I mean, Vooch, not the best matchup for him against Miami, but again, not much to pay up for at center tonight. I do think he's in play in tournaments. Joval, his minutes have been inconsistent, but I actually like him a lot as a tournament play here because of the matchup. He's taking on Towns and Gobert. We have seen the Pelicans go small at times. This is not the type of matchup you can go small in. They don't have Larry Nance right now. Robinson Earl is more of a forward than a true center, so I really do like Joval here. They do have Cody Zeller on the roster, but he hasn't played more than 13 minutes in a game this season, so I could see maybe Zeller getting a little bit of run here. Not enough for me to want to play him in DFS, but certainly I do feel good about Joval playing maybe more minutes than he usually does, and he's a guy who produces well over a fantasy point per minute. So if we're going to get a couple extra minutes out of him, that could mean like 10 extra fantasy points than we're usually seeing in other matchups. So I do like Joval. I guess anyone else before I guess we'll try to build on DraftKings and see if there's any news coming in.
Let's do it.
All right, yeah, let's jump over to the build then. So we got the DK window open up here. Just gonna zoom in. Guys, feel free to continue to ask questions. We're on for another 15 minutes or so. And then Jayhawk is hosting the Discord tonight, so he's going to have to hop over there. So maybe we'll cut out a little early, give him a chance to get a drink of water or something. But yeah, so I guess first guy in tonight on DK, where are you at? I mean, we both love Daniels. Let's our guy.
Yeah, Daniels.
Daniels is our boy, so I think we're on the same page with that one. Okay, so I like Daniels. We're left with around 6,300 per player. I mean, if we're paying up for anything, to me, I think it's one of the Heat guys. I know you like Bane. I do like Bane, too.
Mm-hmm.
Should we try to jam Bam and see if it works? Low owned?
We can try Bam. I think we can fit him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, at this point, we can, but we'll see what it looks like after a few more clicks. So as far as value goes, I'll click over to the model. Just sort by value, see what's at the top. I think we're going to see Beasley up here. Yeah, maybe we go Beasley. Maybe Beasley, Gilliard, something like that. If Derrick Rose is still out. But are you comfortable with Beasley?
Yeah, Beasley's fine.
Okay. We're still around 6K. So what do we got at small forward here? I mean, I do like Keldon Johnson. I like him more on FanDuel where he's sub 7K. But he's decent looking there. We didn't talk about Wiggins. I say if Curry's out, I think he's in play just because small forward's thin. Not someone I'm rushing to get to at all, though. We got Champagne. Anyone you're seeing jumping off the page of you? Because
let's
kind of rough.
Let's go either Najee or Connaughton at forward. They're both cheap, I think, and bringing up pretty hefty ownership.
Yeah, where is Najee? I like Najee. Power forward, interesting. Okay, so we got Najee there. Still 6'6" per player. I mean, we could pretty much jam another stud if we want to. Did you want to get Bam in there? Or Bane?
Yeah, Bane if we could. I'm really high on Bane tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And he fills that small forward spot. So we're left with 5,800 per player, which I really like how this is coming together. I mean, I do like Ingram, but we're already pretty heavy on New Orleans. We have Beasley from that Dallas game with the ridiculous total, but I think unless you're paying up, you don't need to force that necessarily. Um, Anyone you're passionate about here? I would say if Curry's out, maybe Paul. Don't love the price. I do like Ingram.
I love Ingram too. Can we fit Ingram in there? I don't know. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, we're gonna have to squeeze some value now, but I think if we go
Okay.
Ingram, we go to like Champagne. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And that leaves us with 4,700 at utility. This is a pretty decent build. I mean, Caruso's in, playing limited minutes, but very high fantasy point per minute rate. I do like him. Wouldn't mind Roddy in like a large field tournament. Probably not someone I'd use in cash. Um, Anyone from this group standing out, but I think I like this build. I think you could fit Ingram, Bam, Bane with some value and feel pretty good about yourself going into this one.
Yeah, and like, can we like maybe consider Jaquez at 47 at basically no ownership too? We're already getting
Yeah,
banned.
man. Yeah, I mean, with Hero out, he has been seeing extended run. I know as a player, a lot of folks in the industry like going into the season, consistently hitting value. So, yeah, let's do it. We'd probably rearrange this so the later players are in the bottom half in
Yeah.
case you did need to pivot, but I do like this a lot as a build. We could actually maybe click over to FanDuel now. We do have time, but yeah, I'll check for questions while we wait. Hit refresh on the model. Check any injury news. This is one of those slates where we have enough value, but I wouldn't mind if we got one more piece to come through. So let's see. Yeah, put me in the game. Coach saying he's been playing Daniels on DK as well. He's been awesome. Hornets lineup out. Jaylen Brown is questionable tomorrow. So yeah, no new news that we have to process here. I got too many windows loading at once, but I'll drag this over. I should have loaded 30 things at once while streaming, but these are the
We're all
things you
good.
learn after making the mistake. So yeah, I did just refresh the model, seeing if anything's changing. Gilliard, still chalk, Najee Marshall, Bain, Ingram, Towns. No real surprises to me. I am a little bit surprised with how popular Kyle Anderson is. I know he has upside, but especially on DK, 20%, where you're not getting the extra points for blocks and steals, likely coming off the bench. You see yourself landing on Anderson over someone like Connington, Kuminga, Champagne, Beasley?
Yeah, that's a piece of chalk I'm probably gonna get away from. Not too high on that one.
No, I'm totally with you on that. I think that is valid. And before we pull over FanDuel, take a quick look here. Collins, Bain, Ingram, Gilliard. So really no surprises there either. And yeah, let's build a quick FanDuel when we got the time for it. Again, if anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us beat out these other sites doing this stupid YouTube algorithm. It takes a while to build momentum, so any click on that like button definitely helps us over here. But yeah, so we're over on FanDuel now. I think we could go Daniels here too, and just really make that our brand on the show this evening. And
Dyson Daniels masterclass. Man.
I love it. I love it. I mean, Conley's a good defender, but I don't think it's like a one-on-one matchup type situation. So definitely going to be on Daniels here. I did want to get to Keldon Johnson. I don't think I'm going to get to him much on DK, so maybe we go with him from that Memphis game at 6,800. I think that's a little too cheap.
I like him. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you thinking next? I mean, we could go center, power forward.
What's Cat Towns on FanDuel? Is he
Oh.
82?
82, but we could play him at power forward, which is nice.
Yeah, let's do that. I like that price tag.
I'm with that. And then we go to shooting guard. This is probably where you're going to have to find some value tonight. We want Beasley on DK. I do like Beasley. Probably going to click him in a second. Carson Wallace is in. I think if you're looking to get different, he's not terrible in this range. Just hasn't been playing consistent minutes. But since we went Beasley on DK, maybe we go Connington for 800 cheaper on FanDuel. We're left
They're
with
both really good.
Yeah, they're both good. I mean, you could honestly play both if you want to get more studs in. Like, I think maybe we do that and just see what it gets us. Because honestly, of all the value, I do feel better about some of these Milwaukee pieces than others. Let's see. We didn't get Jimmy on DK, did we? So let's get Jimmy over here. 7,200 per player. We got point guard, shooting guard, center. Anyone. You pick any player, any price. We could make them fit. I think.
So point guard's not the strongest. Obviously, Gilliard's there. We already have Daniels. we could look at Dame maybe for a contrarian at 9K. He's pretty cheap. I don't know if you like
Dame.
that, but
Yeah. No, I mean in tournaments, I definitely would get there. In cash, I mean
no,
that
not in
game's.
cash.
Yeah, not in cash. The total's so high there though. Like I feel like I should be higher on this game than I am. But yeah, maybe we get some news that points us in that direction. Still
I think
6,400 per player.
I think Gilliard would probably be the cashier option instead of Dame, but for this build, let's go. Let's go Dame.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, if you're playing cash, probably get to Gilliard. I think Conley has a safe floor as well, so either or both of those make a lot of sense there. I mean, center's tougher to fill than shooting guard. I mean, if we went Bam, we can't go Bam. That's fine. I don't love Vooch here. Joval against Cat. Maybe they go back and forth, and this gets fun. So I don't mind Joval on FanDuel. Don't want to go Duncan Robinson. Maybe Herb Jones. Something like this looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I like that.
Nice.
The other thing was who was also picking up chalk. Zach Collins is predicted for 45% on FanDuel.
Yeah.
I didn't really. Is he cheap?
It's 6,100
Yeah.
and power forward eligible. That's the reason.
Okay,
The
that
power
makes sense.
forward. Yeah, and I mean, with Pop, like, if any coach is going to lower a guy's minutes for no reason, it is Popovich. So, I don't know. There is some merit to getting away from that chalk. It's just, what else do we have in that price range?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, let's take a look, actually. That's a good point, because if you can find ways away from the most popular plays, like, obviously they're popular for a reason. Collins is an excellent play. But if there are some direct pivots in the range, I think it's worth talking about. I mean, if you go Lopez at center, I think he has the same ceiling, if not better. I mean, a direct leverage play would be to find the salary to get to Wemby and just hope he goes off and Collins has a kind of shaky night. That's how you get direct leverage there. Or I love Keldon Johnson, but he's also popular. So you're probably not getting too much leverage from going Keldon. But yeah, definitely a thought I think worth having, and definitely a piece of GPP strategy worth discussing. When someone's super popular, if there's direct pivots, it makes sense to make a few pivots if you're playing multiple lineups. We got 6:22 on the clock here. Going to check if there are any more questions. Scrolling down, my computer is slow. Got 100 windows open. Come on. Oh, we got thoughts of Caruso for value. So yeah, we talked about him a little bit. The issue with Caruso is always that he plays like 25 minutes per night. But at the same time, I mean, he does so much when he's on the floor. I like him. I just think he's more of a tournament play because you don't have the floor with his minutes, generally speaking, especially with DeRozan back. You feel the same?
Yeah, he seems a little bit slim for value. I don't know. He's fine. Obviously, yeah, I probably won't get there. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, then we have this question from Ian T here. He says, Jaden McDaniels popping is the third piece of value on DK. So I'll say this. First thought is I don't really like Jaden McDaniels, but when I see that Kyle Anderson's very popular, I think it makes sense to play McDaniels in some lineups where you don't have Anderson. Because if Anderson has a bad night, McDaniels has a good night at low ownership, you're getting like double leverage on that. That's how you climb a leaderboard. So I don't love the play, first thought, but sometimes you just got to trust the model. And for me, that's kind of where I'm at with Jaden McDaniels. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'd prefer McDaniels definitely to Kyle at the ownership discount. So yeah, probably McDaniels for me. I don't mind that.
Yeah. Beantown with a pretty good question here. So, do you like Moody if Peyton and Curry are out? I'm just checking to see Peyton Curry.
That's a good question. Let me see.
Yeah, let me see what. Forget the news. I mean, I was gonna just confirm Peyton was out, but that injury looked bad. I think he will be. I mean, at 1%, it's not insane. If that game were to blow out in either direction, Moody's one of the first guys to get an extra run. I mean, it seemed like as much as Kerr has talked up pods, he wasn't rushing to get him into the rotation when the game was competitive. Moody was in before him. So for all those reasons, I think you could get to Moody. Wouldn't be in my first, second, or maybe third lineup, but if Curry and Peyton are both out, that's not the worst play at virtually zero ownership, but very risky.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, no one's going to get there, so I can see the intrigue in tournaments. But, yeah, I mean, I think he's fine for, like, what is he supposed to be, like 1% on? 2% on?
Yeah, 1% exactly.
Yeah, I don't mind that as a flyer.
Yeah, I'm with you. So then we got, do we like Joval or Collins better tonight on DK? Um,
It's
I
tough.
think they're both kind of more so tournament plays on DK. I like the ceiling of Joval here for a little bit cheaper, better at I think lower ownership or the same ownership. So I slightly favor Joval. I think he's a little bit riskier. If you're playing cash, probably just go Collins. But I do like the upside out of Joval whenever there's a chance we could get extra run. And that transitions well into our final question of the evening from Town, excuse me. Will Robinson Earl get the start again? Last time he got the green light with Williams out. So yeah, I do think this is worth bringing up. I'll pull up that game log. Um, Not a player I've ever been high on, but again, they're facing off with the Timberwolves. They're going to see a lot of Towns next to Gobert, and they really don't have anyone on the roster except maybe Zeller who could compete that. And Zeller's kind of a defensive turnstile, for lack of a better word. So if Robinson Earl starts, I think you're at least getting 15 minutes out of him, as high as 28. I'll see what we're projecting him for. But to me, it's not the worst value play. If he was center only, I'd be less eager about it. But I think where you could play him at power forward, we're projecting him for 21 minutes. Actually, a decent value score, 14 on FanDuel, 14.4 on DK. So some risk there. I wouldn't say he's safe, but on a slate where we're lacking like true cheap punts, I think it does make sense to get to a little bit of Robinson Earl if he starts.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see him rating pretty well right around Gilliard, Kuminga, etc. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, once again, everyone, no major news yet. We got to keep an eye on Curry. If he's in, I do think he's a decent play. If he's out, obviously all the other starters for Golden State become more appealing. We're going to have Jayhawk in the Discord as soon as we sign off here. So if you are a member, jump in there, get any voice audio. We'll be parsing through any news as it comes in. But any final thoughts on the slate, man?
No, I'm gonna be underwear on Kyle Anderson. I hope Kerr. Do you hope Kerr's in or out? I mean, for me, I probably hope he's in, just so because I'm gonna be overexposed early. But
yeah, I don't feel great about that Golden State value as things stand. So I'd like him to be in, so it kind of kills it all. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, agree with you. So.
All right. But yeah, guys, let's go Dyson Daniels and like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining us this evening. We definitely appreciate it. Have fun. Good luck, everyone, and let's make some money.
Good luck tonight, guys. See you at